Okay. James Ernest with the Grueling Truth Radio Network, here with Tony Colston of Gunslinger Challenge. So, Tony, tell us how you got started playing football.
Oh, man. First off, Jake, you have me on the show, man. This is a great opportunity, just speak with you guys that are in the sports world and love what you do. And, same thing for me. When I was in fourth grade, we were outside playing football, man. And when my best friend said he had to go, and, it's like, where are you going? And he's like, going to football practice. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. So, I went and asked my mom, can I go to football practice? And she let me go. And it was kind of interesting because first day of practice, the coach lined us up. I always tell this story to my quarterback guys because it's always important to be prepared. Mm-hmm. Coach lined us up in a line. We're 9 years old. And threw a football to each one of the kids. He threw it to one kid, he threw it back to him, and threw it to another kid, they threw it back to the coach. And by the time he got to me, he threw it to me, I threw it back to him, he threw it to me, I threw it back to him, he said, you're the quarterback. And it just kind of started from there. And I played quarterback ever since.
Nice. So your entire career, you always were a quarterback?
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
Yes, sir.
So tell us about Clinton High School. Is that named after President Clinton?
I don't know a whole lot about the origination of the name, but no, it's just Clinton, Tennessee. It's a town, small town on the north of Knoxville. Not a bad little place, man. It's just a good little homey area to kind of raise a family and that sort of thing. And back when I played football, the game's changed. I graduated in 1999. Everything changes, everything evolves over the years. But back when I was playing, it was a little different, just in the mentality and demeanor of social media's made things change up a little bit. But Clinton was a great place for me. High school football was fun. I was fortunate enough to play, be coached by some quality coaches that had been around for years and had success. And they did a great job of teaching us, preparing us, and give us an opportunity to enjoy the game. For what it really gives you in life.
What was your recruitment process like with Tennessee Tech?
My recruiting, it was way different than it is now. I tell you, I tell a lot of kids sometimes, I talk to them, I'm like, don't fall in love with the dating process of the recruiting. A lot of kids want to be recruited, but they don't understand what they're about to get into. Football at the collegiate level, as much as you don't want to say it, it is a business, and you have to carry yourself a different way and that sort of thing. So for me personally, this is kind of funny, I guess, but I got letters. Back in the day they sent letters. I don't even know if they really send letters that much anymore, but I've got shoeboxes of letters from from all kinds of schools, from University of Tennessee, Florida State, Kentucky, big schools, small schools, and it's part of the process. And one thing my coaches told me then is, just because you get letters from a school, it doesn't mean you're actually getting recruited by those guys. They have a database and that sort of thing. But it was fun. It gave me an opportunity to feel, wanted, needed a little bit. But, the cool part about it is I made my highlight tape in November, right after my senior football season. As soon as it was over, I sent the highlight tape out in November, December, got a scholarship offer in February. And, nowadays, if you wait till November after your senior year, you're not going to get signed, because, guys are already, offered as sophomores. And, the game's just changed. With social media, you have to get out there early, and that's one reason I talk about, the training process and the things I do now. We're really just trying to prepare these kids for that moment. I think, you probably know it as well as I do. If the moment shows and you're not ready for it, you're going to miss it. Somebody else is going to take advantage of it. So, we try to, prepare the kids at a young age, to throw the ball, to do the drops and stuff. And in youth football, I didn't throw a pass until I hit 8th grade. But I played from 4th grade all the way through. All it was quarterback runs and that sort of thing. But the cool part about it was, just getting to college, having some fun with it. Tennessee Tech was a cool place. I ended up at Tusculum College and finished my career out there.
So, what was the transition like from outdoor to indoor football?
Well, for me personally, I was a scrambling quarterback. When I played at Tusculum, and I don't know if that means more or less I didn't read the defense well enough to get the ball out sometimes when I had to run, or just like to run the football. It's one of the things that we always did in high school and things of that nature. But once I modified system. We're throwing it around, having fun. And then when I got to arena football, it was under center, quick passing game, and running with the quarterback is really, if you can run in arena football as a quarterback, then you're pretty darn athletic, and I hadn't seen too many guys do it. And the game's quicker. You just want to take your drop, get rid of the football, and get out. But I think the one thing I learned the most in arena football was the connections with the talent that I played with. Me playing Division II football at Tusculum College, we had 3 guys go to the NFL my junior year from Tusculum, which was pretty cool. I played with some really talented guys. That's one reason my career was able to be successful, because I had some great teammates. But the arena game was just different. It's faster. I got to play with guys that played at Ole Miss, Florida State. They played Division I football, guys that have been on the NFL rosters, but in the past, and have been cut, released, or whatnot. And so for me, as a future coach, it was probably the greatest internship I'd ever had. Just being able to question my teammates, ask them how they were coached, by the coaches that they were coached at, and then asking them about the next level coaching in the NFL. And it really just helped me improve my IQ as a coach, not just being a quarterback coach, but being able to help the other positions on my team, and, that sort of thing. It's just a great experience on that end.
I'm sure one of the things you emphasize to your players is, always keep, like you said, be prepared for any opportunities that come up. What was the Italian part of your career like for the Giants?
Yeah, when I had the opportunity to go to Bolzano, it's really a blessing. I played arena football for 7 years after college, and like we were talking about, quarterbacks know to run the football and do things of that nature. That's what made the game fun for me. I wasn't the typical quarterback, I guess you could say. Coaches always tried to get me to slide and get down and that sort of thing, and I just like playing the game. I guess one thing coming from Clinton, Tennessee, is we always talked about demeanor and being a football player and being physical. And so me being a quarterback, you ever click in the highlight films or anything like that, I like to get in there and play quarterback kind of like a linebacker, and it made it fun. So when the opportunity with the arena football, we won an Arena Cup championship in 2008, and really started what I'm doing now, with the coaching and training. And I turned 30 years old, and I asked my arena football coach. I said, "Coach, man, I really would like to play on the big field again. I just want to see if I can do it. Get out there, run around, have some fun." I knew I wasn't going to the NFL, and I knew I wasn't going to the Canadian League, and those are the 2 bigger venues to do that. So I just asked him if he could help me and get me overseas. And Dean Kakinos, which is an arena football coach right now, great man, taught me a lot of things about being a professional, and taught me about how to handle and carry yourself, as the leader and the face of the franchise on your team. He had a connection in Bolzano, Italy, and called the coach, said, "Hey, I got a guy," and he put me on and sent me out there, and I got to play. It was fun. I'm one of those guys. Like I said, I was 30 years old. I wasn't a young guy when I went, so I went over there without a translation book. Just showed up like I was going across country to California or something, and got stuck in the train station and the airport for about 6 hours the first day because I didn't know how to speak any Italian. And the other American guy from Houston, he showed up at the airport. He had all the translation books, so we figured our way to Bolzano through the trains and the buses and all that stuff. And but the playing experience, I tell everybody, if you ever get a chance to go overseas, it's not a business as much as it is. It reminded me of high school football, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Those guys, we didn't have a bunch of fans. Soccer is king over there. And so for me, I got to be the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. So for me, it was really cool because I got to go coach. Basically, I didn't wear my helmet throughout practice. I'd coach, put the guys through drills, and do that sort of thing. And then I'd hop in the huddle and throw my helmet on, and we'd call plays and go through the gist of the practice and preparation for the game. But those guys played the game because they loved it. They weren't getting any. They weren't getting paid. The 3 American guys that go each year get paid. But these other guys, they're just like high school kids here. Even though the age group was from 16, I had a 16-year-old defensive end on the team, and I had a 44-year-old Argentinian former Italian mafia bodyguard at right tackle.
Nice.
So it was a big broad age group. But everybody was family. to running the option because we understood how to defend it a little bit better. Play quarterback, was a starting punter, which we faked more punts in that season than I've ever seen faked in the end of my career. But it was fun. It's just a way for me to live out that last year of football, and to say, hey, I did this.
So that opportunity with being the coordinator, did that spark your interest in coaching?
No, I've been coaching as soon as I finished college, and I say this to a lot, for a lot of other athletes out there. I never wanted to be a coach. When I was playing college football, I wanted to run a business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, that sort of thing. Kind of what I'm doing now, but I didn't have the vision then. But Tusculum College, one thing that they do, I think at the time I didn't enjoy as much, but as an older person, I look back at it and I think it's really good. They require, to use better terminology, they require their seniors before they graduate to do a certain amount of community service in either their hometown or the town of our school. And for me, I was at home during the summertime and needed to get 21 hours of community service out of the way so I can get my credit. And I hit the guy that played quarterback before me in high school. He was a middle school football coach in my hometown of Clinton. And it was actually pretty cool because I asked him, I said, hey, man, can I come out here 3 days a week, work your quarterbacks, and just teach them a couple things, and then you write my community service off, I'll get this credit. And in those couple of weeks, I really fell in love with coaching football. I got to teach a bunch of 7th and 8th grade kids things that I had just learned in college. And to watch them understand it, pick it up, and start developing that skill set, and then start having success at that early, it was one of those things that parents were like, hey, Tony, why don't you keep coaching? Why don't you help us coach this year? And, I just kind of dove into it. So I was an assistant middle school football coach in 2006. When I moved to Alabama to play arena football, I got a job down there. And it's kind of funny how this stuff goes. I was serving tables. I always waited tables when I was in college. Just a quick way to make some money. And, if you can be fairly charismatic, talk to people, and, be a servant at some point, you can be fairly good at that. So I was serving tables with a man and his family, and we started talking football. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the quarterback for the arena football team here in town. He's like, well, I'm the head coach at Madison Academy High School. And I was like, awesome, I'm looking for a job. It's just hard to coach in the fall and then move and go play arena football in the spring because you can't really develop what you want to do as a coach. And so he asked me to come down and interview. And the very next day, he hired me as offense coordinator. So 2007, I was offense coordinator at Madison Academy High School. And from then on out, from 2007 to 2012, I coached at probably 3 or 4 different schools, but I was offense coordinator for about 8 years straight. And, then while doing the offense coordinating stuff and playing arena football, we were able to, develop a little bit of a clientele down in Alabama. Different quarterback kids would hit me up. I really wasn't thinking about it as a business at the time. I was just trying to help a few kids that wanted to learn to play quarterback. And, we finally, finished that career out, went to Italy, so I moved back home to Knoxville. And when I moved back home to Knoxville, I moved into that transition of that plan B in life. What are you going to do after football? And I think that's, you probably know as well as I do if you talk to a lot of athletes and, if you talk to guys that have played the game years ago, I think the biggest challenge as an athlete after the game's over is to come up with a new identity. My whole life I was a quarterback, and I think other guys live that same life. They're the football guy. They're the star of the team. And, when you transition into that, a lot of people lose, some confidence, lose, a piece of themselves. So for me, being with the kids, I think if I'd have went into any other job, I'd have probably been a little bit more disappointed. But being able to coach, stay with football, it really just re-energized me again, like it was a new career. So, coaching the kids has been a blast. I've been doing this, privately, for the past 5 or 6 years. And, it's been an awesome experience. It keeps me young. I feel like I hadn't aged in about 7 years now. I joke with my friends about it, but I'm 36 years old now. And, I've been doing this since I was coaching since I was 25, but, I don't feel any different now than I did then when it comes to, just being around young people every day and playing football.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. I had a defensive lineman, also played in the Arena League, and he's now the same age as us. He's 36, 37, and he's still playing the game, because, like you said, he just identifies himself so much with football that he couldn't imagine not playing. So yeah,
most definitely.
I can relate to that. And then I remember reading that in Alabama you all had quite the success coaching. A couple of the teams, undefeated and some serious passing records.
Yeah, at Madison Academy it was interesting. They were a private Christian 3A, 3A private Christian school. They'd had some success, had some good teams and some good players, but they'd never really. They were on the move from transitioning from an average team to a super talented team to win state championships and that sort of thing. One of the kids I coached at Madison Academy was Jordan Matthews, and you guys been up in that area. You may know who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Philadelphia Eagle wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I tell you a quick story on him. Jordan. I'm not a big guy that I'm from Tennessee, but Peyton Manning walked in the room. I have a ton of admiration and respect for Peyton for what he did, but I wouldn't be starstruck. But, I got to see Jordan's process. And Jordan was a kid that, most kids that go to the NFL, they were the man all the way through school. First day they touch football field, they're the fastest, most athletic, they're the ones scoring all the touchdowns. Jordan was the kid that I saw, the young man now, that I saw go through the process. His sophomore year in high school, kid was 6 foot, 170 pounds, 160 pounds, ran a 4.940. Junior year, 6'1 and a half, 6'2", ran a 4.740, had 68 catches, 1,400 yards. And sports like I do, 68 catches, 1,400 yards at junior high school, you should have colleges all over you.
Yeah.
And he had 0 scholarship offers and was a 2-star recruit. Nobody was coming by the school recruiting. And I was, as a coach and a quarterback, and just the statistics, and we didn't run fade routes. We ran routes. And that's one thing I talk to about the kids now that I train is it's all about preparation. So, we ran routes. If you took 68 catches that he had on highlight tape, you might only find 5 fade routes, and that's unheard of, definitely in this day and age of football in the passing game. But the kid developed, did his thing. His senior year, 6'3", 185 pounds, 4.640. I remember I got the letter today still where I'd sent some film into Vanderbilt, and they sent something back to me saying, we're just looking for speed because the SEC is, this type of level. And I remember sending a letter back saying, hey, the kid can play. Just give him a chance. And a few months later, Jordan went to the senior day football camps that the guys go to, called me, said he had a great camp, but they still didn't offer him. He goes through the summer, and they offer him, I guess it's called a gray shirt or a blue shirt nowadays. It's kind of like a preferred walk-on.
Uh-huh.
Gave him a preferred walk-on opportunity. He took it. In the summertime, another kid, I guess, ended up ineligible. So Jordan got a scholarship. So just by the luck of however it works in life, things happening for a reason, Jordan was able to get a scholarship to Vanderbilt. 4 games later, he's starting receiver. 3 years later, 4 years later, he's in the NFL, second-round draft pick. So I always tell kids, no matter what you're going through, just work. Put in the work, grind it out, become the best you can be. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Whether it happens early or late, you just got to believe in your dream, make it happen.
Exactly. I mean, you got to keep an eye out for those opportunities because they'll show up eventually. It's just, like you said, are you ready at the time for them?
Exactly.
And then I remember reading that you had a couple other really talented ones down there, Cameron Jackson and Brooks Johnson.
Yeah, Cam went to North Carolina. One of my favorite receiver guys. He actually graduated just not too long ago. Got his degree from North Carolina and that sort of thing. Had a pretty good career. But at high school level, kid was, super successful. Great learner, great person. I think he graduated early at North Carolina. I see him on, social media all the time. Him and his little brother are doing very well now. Great parents, good family, and that sort of thing. I've not been fortunate to coach as many great players over the years, but I think as a coach, that's kind of the icing on the cake. The kids I coached, the coolest thing nowadays, just as being an adult, is seeing these kids that I coached that weren't, the college scholarship kids, were the kids that grinded it out, worked hard, loved through tough love sometimes, and you got to push them to be better. But 10 years down the road, you see them graduate high school, you see them graduate college, and for them to hit you up, talk to you, and have good things to say about the experience they had, just makes everything add that much value to what you're doing. And for me, gives me a momentum, I guess you could say, to just keep doing it, and to stick with it, and to keep challenging kids, and hopefully, teach them something that's going to make them great football players, but something that's going to make them better men in the long run.
And I agree with you. I mean, that's really the ultimate success is the graduating from college and them having the families and then the jobs and just becoming good parts of society. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'd all like to have the NFL players and all, but you're right. I mean, it's more important than learning those life lessons because those are what you can reach to everybody. Yeah, so I agree with you 100% there. So tell us about the Gunslinger Challenge.
The Gunslinger Challenge, it was almost, just keep it like this. I went and did a lot of camps. I'm all about helping people, and once I moved back to Knoxville, a lot of the guys that were doing camps, combines, and training here in Knoxville, I linked up with them, and it's like, hey, I'll help. I'll run the quarterback drills, and do that part of your camp. And, they did all these camps, and they were doing really good camps, but there was always, how it is, there's so many kids. You get 200-300 kids that show up to a combine. Sometimes it's unorganized. You got lines with 20 quarterbacks in a line trying to get reps. And for me personally, I'm a format and structure freak. I think if you got good structure and you have a solid format, then you can create as much success as you have knowledge to give. So for me personally, I just looked at it and I reached out to some people and I said, I want to do something that's more quarterback related, that's strictly for the quarterback, by a quarterback. And so I just called the top 10 quarterbacks here in Knoxville, gave them a ring, texted them, got a hold of them, and said, hey, I'm going to do a competition here in Knoxville. I'd love for you guys to show up this weekend, compete, have some fun, and let's see who the complete quarterback is. And they showed up, and we had a great weekend. Did it in the backyard, basically, of the high school field that I was coaching at. I lined off a side field, and we had some fun that weekend. The kids had a blast, and the people that saw it, I had another guy named Carlos Younger, runs Tennessee Gridiron Scouting recruiting service here in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was just starting his business also, and he came to me, and he's like, Tony, I love this event. Let's cover it. Let's try to make it bigger. So as I thought about this going into the next year, I wanted to reach out to more kids, and try to open this thing up to a nationwide, competition. And a lot of people I talk to, how people with small minds, it's not their vision, they don't see it sometimes. And, they were like, that's going to be hard to do. You didn't play big D1 football. Your name is recognizable. It's going to be difficult. And I said, well, that's part of the process. If it's not difficult, then somebody else is going to do it for sure. So let me try this and see what I can do. So, I just put together the format, called it the Gunslinger Challenge. And, gunslinger is a term that I always, had people say about me a little bit. And the gunslingers aren't the most precision guys. They're the guys that just whip it. You got, so, it just is what it is. John Elway, Brett Favre, those guys are the original gunslinger guys. They just sling the football out there, and hey, sometimes they throw some interceptions and stuff, but they're going to give it a shot. And so I just took that name and said, let's go with the Gunslinger Quarterback Challenge. And I did an invite-only opportunity. So I got on Twitter, started spreading the word, and I was blessed and fortunate that kids started responding. And I was like, okay, this is cool. So I said, send DM, direct message your highlight tape if you'd like to get a personal invitation to come compete in the Gunslinger Challenge. I'm going to bring, 30 quarterbacks. And I got about 250 films in my inbox, which isn't a lot, but for that, right then, when I was chasing 10 quarterbacks the year before to get 250 people to hit me up, I thought that was pretty cool. So we got the 30 kids. They came from, I think we had 22 states represented that second year, and they came in and competed, had a blast, sent them out, and that really just got the ball rolling. This year, we had 50 quarterbacks come from, I think we had like 27 different states, from Hawaii, New York, Texas, Florida, California, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina. I mean, they came from everywhere. one of those kids that came to the camp showing them training or just talking about an experience they had or something like that. And for me, just like I talked about earlier, that just keeps me young, man. Keeps me happy. Keeps me doing what I do. Reinforces that we're doing something positive, and that's really just how it kind of happened. What we're working toward now is just expanding. We'll probably do regional tryouts in a few different locations next spring, and we'll bring the top performers in those locations in to compete for the Gunslinger Challenge Finals.
And I agree with you. I mean, shoot, you got the right idea. Like you said, with the 50, then you can, focus on the athletes and they get their reps. Because, like you said, in the past, you had done events for other people where there were too many quarterbacks and they're not even really participating enough. So, yeah, it sounds like a great plan, and definitely doing the regionals to be able to try out and to be able to earn their opportunity, earn their way in. So, yeah, it sounds great. So, the way I understand it, it's evaluated with throws and agility drills. Of course, with you being an agile quarterback, that makes sense. Could you tell us some of the things that they use, that you evaluate them with?
Yes, most definitely. The one thing that I see nowadays, and I think it's, I train a ton of young quarterbacks, and these are those third grade kids, middle school kids, elementary, middle school age guys that are trying to learn the game. So the one thing that I really wanted to do with the Gunslinger Challenge, and I talk about it all the time, is I wanted to see who the complete quarterback was. And what I mean by complete quarterback, because, some people don't understand, my thought process on this is, the shotgun has changed the game. You get a lot of kids right now that they've never taken a snap under center, because they're even doing it in youth football, they're doing it in middle school, and they're going into high school and doing it. It's transitioned to, the NFL's on it. And so playing quarterback in the shotgun, really, if you start in the shotgun, it really takes away a lot of the learning of what the quarterback job is, the footwork, the technician part of it. So I wanted to put something together that covered everything. And that's something that what I see a lot and what I experience in my own experience at these camps is they didn't really the quarterbacks were just taking snaps and taking a couple steps and throwing the ball. And so with the Gunslinger Challenge, we talked about, the first thing we start under center. We talk about, 3-step, 5-step from under center. We talk about front side and back side. We went into play action. Play action is a lost art nowadays, I believe. In the game of football, you'll see some of the pro-style teams that they're still successful. I mean, some of the top teams in the country still have the true, pro-style offenses. You got Alabama, USC are two of my favorite teams that always have top teams and have gotten better over the years or whatnot. But they're pro-style. The guys are under center. And if you've never taken a snap under center, I remember my first day of arena football practice. I fumbled probably nearly every snap because I'd never taken a snap under center since high school. So our coach had myself in the center, and the center probably hates me to this day. Not really, but we had to do 400 snaps 2 days in a row because I couldn't take a snap. And so we sat there for an hour after practice, taking snaps. So with the Gunslinger Challenge, man, for me it was more or less, let's test the quarterback on the complete position. Let's go under center. Let's go play action. Let's go sprint out passes. Let's go front side and back side. Let's work all the different routes. And I think there's another thing to quarterbacking is if you're throwing the hitch route out to the side, which is a quick route, 5 yards, turn around, 4 to 7, depending on the team. There's more ways to do that. There's more ways to throw it. There's footwork. There's probably 4 different drops that you can do that can be set up and paired with the hitch route. And I think a lot of people get taught one way, maybe 2 ways. But I believe it's imperative for young quarterbacks to learn as much as they can because you never know who they're going to play for. They might play for a coach that wants to go under center. They might play for a coach that wants to be shotgun. And I think it's always important to learn multiple ways to do things. So that's really what the Gunslinger Challenge is. It's just a test of the complete quarterback to see what type of skill set you have. And then the other thing is, a lot of the drills that we did, the kids they haven't been introduced to those drills. So for me, that's the best part. It doesn't matter how great they are at the Gunslinger Challenge. I really want them to leave the Gunslinger Challenge thinking, wow, I learned something new today. And this is something that when I get on TV and I watch the NFL guys and the college guys, you see them do the exact same thing. And then
So the way I understand it, there is an opportunity for those players to be seen in front of college coaches, scouts, and the media for this event.
Yeah, I mean, that's the next big thing. A lot of times kids don't go to camps unless they think they're going to get exposure. And I think that's a double-edged sword. I think exposure is very, very important, especially in this day and age, and the way social media and film and videos out there to everybody. But the one thing that you're not always going to get something out of something. I guess for me personally, I think you got to go to those exposure camps. You got to get to the satellite camps, the combines. You got to do that. But in a lot of cases, I believe people need to find ways to develop. And you know as well as I do, when you're doing your hardest work, you're not in front of everybody. And when you win championships, you're on stage. But people don't see you grinding it out. Doing the hard work, being out there by yourself, running sprints, and doing the position drills and things of that nature. So I feel, just personally, that sometimes it's not about exposure; it's about development. Because you can get in front of everybody, but if you're not prepared and you're not developed, then it doesn't matter who you're in front of. So I think athletes need to find the most bang for their buck. When it comes to these camps and combines, because you know as well as I do, there's a million of them coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are very, very good. Some of them may not be. And that's not for me to say. That's just for people to experience and get out there and find out what gives them the best opportunity to develop and enhance their skill set. So that's kind of my thing on getting to the camps and doing certain things is grind it out, work, develop your skill set, go get exposure, then go back to the lab. Do things you didn't do well, then go back out in front of everybody. It's kind of like going to practice and playing games on the weekend,
Exactly. So it sounds like your camp is going to make him a more well-rounded quarterback because, like you said, not all quarterbacks get the opportunity to either be in the shotgun or behind center, and it's just kind of a different look and a different way for them to learn the game.
Most definitely. Exactly. And I just want it to be functional. I think there's a lot of things in the training world right now that look good on YouTube. It looks good on Facebook, but it's never going to happen in a game. And I know there's going to be people listening right now, or when you play this, that's that probably get a little sensitive toward this. But I'm not all about gimmicks. I don't think you need a ton of cones and bags and ladders and that sort of thing to learn how to play the game. I think that you want to be functional. It's just like doing strength training or speed work. We do. I've got some really Andy McCloy owns Body Creations Inc. in Huntsville, Alabama. Trains numerous NFL pro athletes, basketball, baseball, tennis. I mean, he's on it. Probably one of the top sports performance specialists in the country. And again, his name's Andy McCloy. If y'all really want some information on him, he's a guy to follow. He's a guy I learned from. He was our strength coach when I was coaching in Alabama, and really one of my best friends now. But he taught me a lot about functional training. You can do a ton of things. If you spend hours and hours on something you're not going to do in a game just to get good at it so it looks good on a drill, then you waste your time. And then it's money. A lot of this training that people are paying for nowadays is, either it's an expense or it's an investment. And there's a big difference in an expense and an investment. And that's one thing I try to talk to my parents and my kids about a lot is, when we come and we get this work in, it's going to be something that's going to translate to what you're going to look to try to do on game day, and it's going to prepare you for playing the game. And I think that's a huge thing nowadays that a lot of people don't see. And, some town, different areas, they don't have a lot of private coaches and things, so they kind of don't see, they just see what's there, and they think that's what they need. And, there's a lot of great quarterback coaches out there in the country and position coaches and that sort of thing, but there's also some hustlers. And, it's just on the parent to figure out who's doing what, and how they can get the most bang for their buck.
Exactly. I mean, it's always important to do the research into it and learn what you're getting into. Makes sense. So, any names from your Gunslinger Challenge that fans would know from watching college football?
As of right now, I don't think just from last year being opened up to the masses. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure if there's anybody that's really. They're probably redshirt freshmen right now. and the one thing that I truly believe in is collaboration. And you probably know, even in the radio business, it's competitive. Mm-hmm. You know, people are competing against each other. And the one thing for me with quarterback coaching is I've learned over the past couple years that there's a lot of guys out there that want to be the man. They want to be the greatest. You know, they're trying to be the and I'm not even going to give pub to any of the coaches, but those top coaches that train those guys for the NFL Combine and those guys, you know, they're trying to be that guy. And by doing that, you alienate yourself from other guys. So for me, I'm about collaboration. You know, one of the things I'm working on right now, we're about to launch a YouTube site called Elite QB TV. And I've been fortunate enough to talk to some quarterback guys around the country that don't want to collaborate at all. They want to do their thing, and if you want to help them, you can help them. But, you know, that's where it's at. But I've also met guys that are kind of like me, that love coaching, you know, and love teaching and mentoring and want to make a bigger impact than just doing what they do individually. So with the Elite QB TV, I'm going to start collaborating with quarterback coaches all over the country. And we're going to talk about some of the detailed coaching that we don't see everywhere else. And that's kind of where I've been able to build my business, is coaching the details. You know, is coaching the things that I learned through my failures as a quarterback. And I think a lot of people teach from their success. And, you know, that's one way to start. But generally, I teach from the ways I messed up. You know, whether it was, you know, in a game, in life, you know, whatever it is. I think the failures that you have in life are your greatest teaching points. You know, they talk about that as a team. You know, you go undefeated and you never lose. You really never find a true identity of who you are. And you don't want to promote losing, but you want to promote the rebound, how you react to losing. And you have to have a loss somewhere in there as a challenge. So the thing we're going to really work on is building the complete quarterback, talking about the detailed coaching points, and you know, maybe even just, you know, you got the 3-step drop. You know, a lot of people don't focus on the first step, and we're going to do some videos and different things talking about the first step of every drop, and you know, talking about getting started right, so you're tracking, you know, so you can stay on track as you keep moving, you know, forward in your development. And I think a lot of people have, you know, kind of jumped on board, and they like that idea, and you know, and that's one reason people have jumped on board with the Gunslinger Challenge and want to help and be part of it. You know, I've been fortunate to reach out to a ton of coaches that say, hey man, I want to help next year. You know, and it's not because I'm this great quarterback coach. It's because they like the idea of what we're doing. They like why I'm doing what I do. And that's more important to me, because I think that's how you build relationships. You know, people don't understand. You know, people can look at you, see what you did on the field, whether you threw 100 touchdowns or won 10 championships or what it is. But at the end of it, you're dealing with kids, and it's who you are that's going to keep your business. There's a lot of great guys that can teach, you know, quarterbacks, receivers, you know, D-line or whatever. But if you don't know how to relate to the kids, keep respect, and really create a great learning experience, then you're not going to get the most out of the kid. So, you know, that's one of the things we're going to work on, and I think it's going to be really fun, you know, collaborating with these guys and working around the country with some of these other guys in their camps and different events. And, you know, the sky's the limit. You know that. Mm-hmm. If you do something good, people are going to stay on board.
Exactly.
You know, and if you keep trusting your process to how you do things, you know, I think that's one thing is, you know, I'm not one of those guys that everything I've ever done, you know, I don't sit and watch other people do it and then try to replicate it. You know, I try to come up with my own thing, you know, just my own creative ideas. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But, you know, with the Gunslinger Challenge, I think it's something that's catching on, and I think people are starting to recognize it. And I'm hoping that the Gunslinger Challenge, Quarterback Challenge, will be, you know, that next event the kids want to go to. Of course, you got the Elite 11, you know, and the opening and things of that nature. But, you know, there's only so many quarterbacks that can get to those. And I'm not, you know, and this is the difference between me, and because you asked that question, you know, what big-time guys have come through the camp? I've never reached out really to any quarterbacks to come compete. You know, I don't see the top guy in the country and click on Twitter and say, hey man, come out, I'd love to have you. You know, of course I would, but the only people that get invites are the kids that send me their film. Mm-hmm. And if you're a top prospect in the country, good, I'll watch the film. If you look good, I'll give you an invite. If you're a kid that's starting your sophomore year, has zero experience, but you can perform drops and you can sling the football, I'm going to, you know, and 0-star or 5-star, a 4-year starter. It doesn't matter. I want somebody that wants to compete because that's what quarterbacking is. It's about guys that are willing to line up beside the guy that's supposed to beat them, and they line up and they go unfazed and they compete and they challenge themselves. They take a loss here and they come back and they're more focused. Those are the guys I like to get to. Because those are the guys that are game changers. And you see it right now. I mean, Tom Brady's the man. And Tom Brady, and I'm not a super fan of him, but I respect his game. I respect his process. And it goes to show you don't have to be a 5-star blue chip quarterback to become the next level guy, just like Jordan Matthews. You just have to be a hard worker. Now, you do have to have moments in your life that happen, and you take advantage of it. For me personally, the only reason I'm doing what I'm doing today isn't because I came up with this idea. It's because back in 2008, I was a backup quarterback for the Tennessee Valley Vipers arena football team, and I stuck with it. For the first time in my life, I was a backup. And, thought about quitting, thought about, it was just one of those things. You know how athletes are. We feel entitled sometimes. I was a starter through youth football. I was a starter in college. I got to arena football, started the first 2 years, and then the third year we changed coaches. And he brought, and it's professional sports, and you talk to a lot of guys in professional sports, it's a business. So instead of just taking the guys that were on the team still, he brought 2 quarterbacks that were his guys and automatically demoted me to third string. And that was a really tough pill to swallow because I felt I was the guy. And, it's one of those things. I stuck with it, the backup quarterback all year long. Another guy was starting. It was actually a cool experience because the guy that was starting, we had to have a really good relationship because his little brother actually transferred and played quarterback for me at the high school I was coaching at the time. So it was a really unique experience, because quarterbacks really aren't buddies with each other as much as they'd like to be because there's only one guy that can get on the field. Mm-hmm. His little brother was my quarterback, and he's the starting quarterback. I'm the backup. We make it to the Arena Cup Championship in Spokane, Washington in 2008, and starting quarterback, Kevin Eaton, got injured first drive of the game. And this is kind of where my story starts with talking to kids about being prepared for the moment. And we get to that championship game. I've got to go in. It's 7-7 early in the first quarter. And I hadn't had a rep all season long in a game except for practice, other than the 2 years of experience I had previous. And it was one of those moments where I could have either let my team down because they worked so hard to make it to the championship, or I could take advantage of the moment and maximize it. And so I had to go in the game, and it was a dream come true. I envisioned myself doing well. I told everybody, from my mom to the high school football coach. I remember the high school football coach was sitting in the office, and he's like, "What did you get to play?" Because I hadn't played all year, so he's kind of joking around with me. And me being a confident, not cocky, but I believe in myself. You put me on the field against anybody, I won't believe I'm going to win until I win or lose, and then we're going to regroup. But I sat there and told him, he sat there, he said, "Tony, what did you get to play?" And I looked at him, I kind of hit my hand on the table. I was like, "I'm going to throw 100 touchdowns, and we're going to win the game." And that was just me being confident and just believing, hey, I'm going to do it. Now, if I don't, I'll be the man to say, hey, I just played a horrible game. But I got in the game, and we ended up going to double overtime and winning the game on a 2-point conversion scramble. I finally got to use my feet in the most important play of my life. And in the 2-point conversion in overtime against Spokane, I dove in for the win and gave us the championship. And it was just a surreal experience, man, and it really taught me, to be a team player. It was one of the things I was learning on the fly, how to be a team player, because that's just what I had to do. And so I always tell the kids, the first time in my life that I sacrificed myself for the team and said, you know what, I'm not bigger than the team. I'm going to be a player and be a part of this team. And I was rewarded with the opportunity to play in the championship football game and won MVP. I think our championship game got voted the #1 championship game in arena football history at that time. We were the only team, I think the only visiting team ever in arena football, because arena football is not so big that they play it in a random city. They always have a home team. Mm-hmm. And Spokane was the home team, and we're the only visiting team that ever went on the road in that 20-year history and won. And so it was a pretty cool experience being the first of a few things. I think I'm really the only, I know this, you got to reach sometimes to make yourself it's yours, but I think I'm the only backup quarterback that's ever came into a game in a championship moment and actually led the team to victory. I don't think there's any professional quarterback that's ever done that in the Super Bowl, NCAA championship, or anything. There's been backup quarterbacks that played through the season, but they haven't come in the game when they're expected to do absolutely nothing and come in and win. So I always tell the kids that, that's my story for them, and it's not a big glamorous story about me being the man, but I think that's what life's about. Is you're going to be the man sometimes, and then sometimes you're just going to be part of the the machine. And if you play your part and do what you're supposed to do, you're going to benefit everybody much more than you would just doing your own thing.
So, what's the best way the parents and the kids can learn about Gunslinger Challenge?
With social media nowadays, I believe that's the best. If you're a quarterback guy, you need to get Twitter. Even if you're young, I tell the parents. Even if the kids, I know a lot of parents want to screen their kids' social media, and I understand that and respect that fully. But a lot of the parents of the kids I know nowadays, they create a Twitter profile for their quarterbacks, for their sons, and they put a little highlight tape, says class of 2020, quarterback, put a huddle highlight tape, and then they don't even mess with it anymore except to upload film. So the way I've been able to get a hold of people and for people to find me is to find me on Twitter at T for Tony, T Colston 6. On Instagram, I think Instagram's become a pretty big thing nowadays. On Instagram, it's Gunslinger QB Challenge. And Facebook is Tony Colston Gunslinger Challenge. And, the things that we're doing now, this being kind of the off season or the end season for the kids, we're going to start doing a lot of we've got a lot of things with the Elite QB TV. I'm going to start doing some things, some online. I've had a lot of kids reach out to me outside of Knoxville. And, it's hard to travel to those guys, and it's hard for them to travel sometimes. So one of the big things I've started doing is I'm going to start doing some online coaching. And that's going to be part of that Elite QB TV, is where we're going to do some online coaching, doing some drills, talking about the details, and even some live coaching, for the kids that sign up for the program and want to, do some of that type of things. And I think that's going to be a great way to reach out to build a brand, and to really help more people, that are trying to be developed. I'm a left-handed quarterback, and I've had to learn how to do all my drops right-handed. I still can't throw a strike with my right hand yet, but I can hit the footwork. but so that's one thing. I've got a lot of left-handed quarterbacks around the country that say, "Hey, my coach is right-handed, and he's teaching me," but it's not the same because I don't see. Everything's in the mirror. It's opposite. So those are some of the guys I've been reaching out to, saying, "Hey, let's get some online coaching. Let me try to help you. I'll do the drills as a left-handed quarterback. We'll explain some details, and we'll just go back and forth. We'll communicate. And then if you get the opportunity to come to Knoxville, Tennessee, then we'll get together firsthand and in person."
That sounds great. That sounds like really impacting young people's lives and careers, and just a great opportunity to benefit them football wise and in life. So yeah, shoot, that sounds amazing, Tony. We're definitely glad.
Appreciate it, James.
Welcome, my pleasure, sir. We're definitely glad you came on the show, and we definitely look forward to following up with you and your program.
Well, I appreciate it, James. It's a pleasure. You never know when people are going to hit you up for certain things and to speak and stuff. But for you to give me an opportunity to speak to the masses, the people in your area, the people that are interested in sports, this is a great opportunity for me. Just to kind of talk about some of the little things, and even if people aren't trying to communicate with me to get me to coach them, hopefully they got a little bit of advice on how to find somebody, and how to find somebody that can really help them to be, to reach their potential. I think that's huge.
I agree with you. Yeah, because that is what it's all about, is helping those young men reach that potential. And like you said, knowing about, unfortunately, there are some bad opportunities out there, and obviously there's some great opportunities, and being able to distinguish the difference is huge.